it was one of those light bulb moments that hit that industry, and John was the man behind that. Also in the mid-80s, he owned his own advertising agency, which was called Dynamic Ideas, and amongst its clients were News Limited, KFC, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and Caltex, some very high-profile companies. In the mid-90s, John entered the trading card market. You might remember, I think it was Scanlon's bubble gums. Then John introduced, when that folded, John introduced the rugby league bubblegum football cards, which I know my kids certainly went crazy over. But the end result of that was that it grew revenue from $2 million to $12 million in just 1 year, so quite phenomenal. John sold his advertising and trading card businesses in the mid-90s, and then started to produce television commercials, and probably the greatest accolade for this was in recent times. He was the man behind getting Jerry Seinfeld to be the spokesperson for the Greater Building Society's advertising campaign, which was a major coup. I remember looking at it and thinking, how the hell did this happen? Well, he was the man behind it, John Dwyer. John's marketing consultancy business is called now the Institute of Wow. You can see behind me there. And I am looking forward to, as I'm sure you are, hearing what John has to say. Please welcome our guest speaker, John Dwyer.
Thank you. Now I've got a hand mic, haven't I? Just one, yeah. Thank you. Hi everybody, good morning, how are you? Great. I only just made it in time. We rode up from the Gold Coast and around about Springwood there, heading this way each day. You guys will be going the other way, it'll be different, but they're coming out. Guys, look, this is not a seminar, but I do a lot of seminar sort of presentations these days. And in doing so, I've only been doing the seminar game for the last few years. I've been a marketing consultant up to then. And so the seminar game is a bit new to me, and I found that there were quite a few things in the seminar game that I had to get used to. One of them was jumping up and down and hugging people. And no, we're not going to do that. But look, I will ask you to do something because it is almost a seminar, so we've got to go through a ritual. Otherwise, I just can't start. I'm a member of the Australian Seminar Association. You've got to do this, otherwise I just can't start. Could you just turn to the person next to you and put your hand on their shoulder, if you don't mind? You just both stop eating for a second. This will only last for a second, but it'll be worth it. So just put your hand on the person's shoulder next to you. And if you could just look into their eyes and repeat after me, okay? Okay, this is very serious. And this will be a very serious presentation, so no laughing, right? If you look into their eyes and say after me, that'll be the last time. That'll be the last time. I'm touching you today. There will be no hugging, no kissing, no chanting, and at the end of my little spiel there'll be no conga line, alright? So this is not a motivational seminar. I sometimes come on after a guy called Pat Mesiti. Anybody been to a Pat Mesiti seminar? Yeah. And Pat's fantastic. He's Australia's Anthony Robbins. And if you're feeling down or when you're finished with Pat, you just, you can beat anything. And I was in Fiji recently and I came on after Pat. And Pat had come down off the stage and he's hugging everybody and dancing. And I came on after him and I said, look, I want to make it very clear, Pat and I are like just polar opposites. Pat basically came down and danced with you and hugged you. I didn't even dance at my own wedding, okay, so that won't be happening. And in Pat's instance, if you are feeling down, even suicidal, then Pat will stop you, he will lift you up. Whereas in my instance, if I look at your advertising and I think it's bad, I'll tell you to keep yourself. So there's two different sorts of personalities, okay? And look, let me just explain a little bit about my history. I've been in the advertising game for 1,000 years, and I believe in a particular advertising philosophy which I call wow factor. Now you can call it USP, next selling proposition, or you can call it gosh factor. But the fact of the matter is that around about 96% of the money that most people are spending on advertising is wasted. There's about 4% that actually works. And who would like to be that 4% that works? Okay. Oh, by the way, you know that too, don't you? That in the presentation seminar game, you will not probably finish that breakfast this morning because you'll be doing this all the time. And look, these people here, I hope you're enjoying my presentation. It's an audio thing, so I'm always there. Okay, we'll be off there and here all the time. What the heck? Did I mention to you I had breakfast this morning? Okay, so therefore, this thing called Wow Factor is all about doing advertising or marketing that stands out. And I was fortunate enough to get a list of attendees in day, and I looked at your website. And I can see a few people go, oh shit. Most Australian businesses, most American businesses, most UK businesses, most businesses in general have a shithouse website, okay? And I just want to make you guys feel good because you're in there with them, okay? I looked at your most important form of communications these days is, of course, guess what? It is your website, okay? And yet, so many of us give lip service to that website. We just don't pay enough attention. And I'll be showing you here today in this formula that I've put together how you can fix your website. And at the risk of annoying you by putting your hand up again, who wants their website fixed?
Yeah, why not?
So there's a few people who go, no, stuff, your one is pretty good, isn't it? Now, I think you'd be pleased to hear what I'm about to say. And that is that, you know what, you don't have to be the best to make money. You don't have to be the very best to make money. I think I'm pretty good at what I do, okay? But there are probably guys out there who are not as clever as me in marketing, but are probably making more money. And I want to highlight you. If I said to you, okay, who makes the best hamburgers in the world? The absolute best hamburgers in the world. How many people here would put their hand up and say McDonald's? Not many of us, would we? They make terrible hamburgers. They're awful, okay? But guess what? They sell more hamburgers than anyone else on the planet. In fact, they sold $23.5 billion worth of hamburgers last year just in the US. And they make the worst hamburger known to man. And the reason that they're successful is because anybody want to have a statement? Who thinks they're successful because of something? Marketing, yep, that's a good point. Anybody else? Starts with S. It starts with S. And then the second word is Y, and the third word is S. System. You got it. They got a system. They got a marketing machine, a marketing system. So they make the worst hamburgers in the world, but because their marketing system is so good, they just sold $23.5 billion worth. We all know if we walk down the street here in a hamburger shop to get better hamburgers. But they don't have the system. So what I'm going to show you today is a marketing system that every one of my clients, when they've used it, it works. In some instances, most of the businesses that do this system get about a 40% increase in the first 6 months. There are some that get double and triple and quadruple, and I'll show you those. So what I thought I'd do today, because Roger invited me to speak, he asked if I could make this content rich. I will be showing you a whole lot of examples of businesses that are following this system and making a lot of money out of it. Would anybody be interested in knowing that system? There's no love in this room. Okay, so what I'd like to hear from you is, I'm John Dwyer, but I get JD, I haven't got John for a long, long while. So if you don't mind, it would be yes, JD. Anybody interested in this miraculous system? Yes. That was, I had to force that out of you, so stuff. A couple of jokes, and then I'll read it. Right now, most 5 important things in this system of mine, I call it the Wheel of Wow. Okay, now my business is called the Institute of Wow, which is very winky, but I'm in the advertising game, so get over it. Okay. So it's the Wheel of Wow client attraction system. Okay, now it consists of 5 components. Now think about this as being a pizza. The first component is who is your target audience, and let me just ask around the room, who really thinks that male is the target audience? Who absolutely thinks, okay, I know exactly who we should be marketing our business to? Okay, one out of about 60. The rest of you are pathetic. Okay. I don't know how much longer I can put up with me insulting you and you just chopping away things to shit what I'm saying. Okay, so you've got to know it's not just a matter of who your target audience is. You've got to know your most profitable member in that target audience. So this marketing game is pretty simple. You'll see what I've got on the screen here today. It's pretty simple. Okay, so marketing is all about identifying your most profitable customer and then finding more people who look like him. It's simple as that. Okay? And I bet you, I won't get you to put up your hand because no pastor's going to do it, but I bet you there's a lot of you here that just don't know who your most profitable target audience is. So for the Building Society that I did the Seinfeld campaign with, we knew our most profitable home loan customer was someone around about the age 35 through to 50. Why? Because they were actually buying their second home, they were a good risk, because they've already had a first home, and they would stick with us until they retired at age 65. So we knew that they were our most profitable customer. We also knew what career path they took. We knew whether they were a plumber or whether they were basically a work building societies look for working class people, banks look for white collars. So find your most profitable customer. Then when you find them, you've got to take your eyes off the price. You do not want to ever sell on price, okay? Selling on price is evil, and you don't want to go there. Anybody want to take a stab at why you don't want to sell on price?
Justify.
The way is down.
Sorry?
The only way to go is down.
That's right, the only way to go is down, that's right. Because if you drop your price by 20%, the guy across the road from you, he will drop his price by another 10, and then you've got to drop it. So it's a never-ending story. Now the thing is, price discounting just isn't sustainable for most businesses. I don't do it, I don't want a price discount, because once you start doing it, you can't stop. Okay, you don't want market on price. So therefore, part 2 of this 5-part system is me teaching you how to take your eyes off the price. Anybody have children that have asked you for a Happy Meal box? Okay, well, we've got 6 kids and they're too old for Happy Meal boxes now, but at one stage we had 6 under 12 and we spent $5.2 billion on Happy Meals. And of course the kids at that age threw the hamburger out, they're only after the Disney toys. So McDonald's took our eyes off the price for many, many years. And so take a leaf out of McDonald's and get their eyes off the price. Okay? Harvey Norman, 2 years interest free, he's not stupid, okay? That's taking your eyes off the price. Sorry, I'll come back. Problem solution formula. That's all about what I call the Panadol effect. Show them their problem, aggravate that problem, and then give them a solution. And Panadol and Nurofen are the only people that do it outside of Jenny Craig. I'm telling you, if you master this 5-point system, you won't have any competition. I've got clients who have just got stuck into this stuff, and within about 3 to 6 months, they don't have any competition because the competition are out there dropping their pants, selling on price, and these people who follow this system are making big money because they don't even mention price. Do you know when we were doing the home loan promotion of the Building Society, we had Jerry Seinfeld telling everybody, listen, if you get a home loan from the Greater Building Society, I know you're in Brisbane, you wouldn't probably be familiar so much with the Greater because they only go up as far as the Gold Coast. But they said that if you got a home loan, Jerry would say, if you got a home loan from the Greater, you will get a free holiday. And all we did is that we gave them a free holiday to the Gold Coast or to Fiji, depending on how big that home loan was. For 9 years, from 2001 to 2010, not once did that Building Society ever mention any interest rate. Can you imagine a bank ever telling you anything about interest rates? I never. They're the only bank in the world that never gave you an interest rate for your home loan. Why? And we nearly tripled their home loan business. I mean, goodness, when they went from a capitalisation of $3.5 billion to $5.2 billion in the time that we were running this promotion. Not once did we ever mention the price. We said, get a home loan, we'll give you a free holiday. Okay, so number 4, be different online. I won't dwell on that because I've just told you guys, I mean, most people's websites are woeful. And I'll show you that. And number 5, build competitive trade. I had the trading card business. I took over from Scandal's Bubblegum in the 90s and got football trading cards. Okay, Jurassic Park and Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast, Rugby League and AFL. That's a beautiful product because once the kids bought the $2 packet of bubblegum cards, guess what? They were caught in the habit. They had to keep on buying the rest of the bubblegum cards, which was the football set. And that's a beautiful repetitive trade formula. So proactive for the kids with their acne problems. That's a beautiful repetitive trade formula because once you start on that cream, you better make sure that you continue to use the cream, otherwise the pimples come back. Now, unfortunately, most of us don't have the benefit of having a business model that has that built into it. Drixine, for example, I got caught because my mum suffered from sinus, and I copped it as well. So it must have been hereditary. So I got caught many years ago, a couple of years on this Drixine, the nasal spray. I remember going to the doctor saying, look, is this bad? He said, yes, your nose is going to fall off. And it's a beautiful product for that pharmaceutical company because guess what? When you actually cleared up the nose with the spray, it had bounce back within 8 hours. So it clogged up your nose again. So what did you do? You went and bought some more spray. So the thing is that if we don't have a product that's got that repetitive trade scheme and it's built into it, we're going to make one up. And if I was a hairdresser, anybody here that's a hairdresser? I don't know why my voice went on that. Anybody here that's a hairdresser? Nobody? Good, I can back them up. If I was a hairdresser, I'd be saying for every $50 you spend with me, I will give you a point. And when you save 10 points, which means you've spent $500, I'll give you a dinner at the Versace. Do you reckon I might stand out from any other hairdresser in the main street when I do that? Price has gone out the window. I mean, I am going nuts on price and no one's going to match me. But the point is that that lady who comes in here to haircut says, well, how many points am I? You're 6. So you've got to take the eye off the price and build a company trade. Now I'm going to go through each one of these. Everybody happy for me to do that? Okay. Thank you for the huge show of interest. I really do have you all dying asleep. This is not good. Okay. Number one, who's your target audience? Who has identified, in all seriousness, I'll drop my sarcasm for a second, who has really clearly identified the target audience? Who's a little bit sort of iffy about it? I'm not sure. Okay, that's good. That's because a lot of people fall in that category. These people were at the Supernova conference on the Gold Coast, and I went along to that about 3 or 4 months ago just to take photos of really weird people. And this is one of those Comic Con sort of things where they dress up as their favourite superhero and they all gather. Now, these people, they make Star Trek people look normal, right? They are dressed up, and they're my age, older than me, they're younger, they're all ages, and they get dressed up as Superman and run around the place for the weekend. Really, you know what? The point is that the guy who's running that is a multi-millionaire, because he's worked out that these people are a niche. They're about half an inch wide. In other words, there's not many of them in the world, but they're a mile deep in terms of their pockets. They will spend anything at all to go to one of these comic festivals. Now, he has just hit a wonderful niche. And the money is in the niche. If you can find people who are interested in scrapbooking, then hallelujah, you've just found a nugget of gold. Because whilst they shouldn't be, there's a thing called digital photos now. We're really sticking things into this bloody scrapbooks should be locked away. But the point is that they're out there because there's 32,000 people a month Googling scrapbooking around the world, okay? And so therefore, if you were able to get into that audience, and that was your target audience, what a wonderful thing, because they will spend anything on scrapbooking. They'll sell their first child to get a new scrapbooking program, okay? So, yes, target audience, that's tragic. Okay, that's all I can say is tragic. But the point is that they spend money. Boat enthusiasts, Sanctuary Cove, they've nailed it. They've decided that there's a lot of people out there that like boats, and so therefore once a year, 52,000 people come to the boat show. The only problem is, up until 2 years ago, they never collected any name, contact details. Can you believe that? And don't feel too bad about Sanctuary Cove. You know, you go to Movie World and be one of the 1.8 million people that go there every year, they'll never ask you who you are. You can go to a Broncos game, though, they won't ask you who you are either. McDonald's don't care, Bunnings don't care. Can you imagine the amount of money? I'm pointing this out up front because when you see how magical this system is, you'll never think about marketing the same way again. There are so many people out there that are leaving money on the table. We went to Cha 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 last night for a steak. I was doing a seminar yesterday in somewhere in Melbourne, and I flew back in late, and Cha Cha Cha, thank goodness, is open until midnight. And we blew $120 on a bottle of wine and meal. We left, and they don't know who we are. Anybody here that's been to a restaurant in the last 5 years and they even take a shit out who you are and ask for your contact details? Anybody? No? Okay, 1 or 2 out of 70. So if you're one of those people, then yeah, give yourself an uppercut, as Fatty would say. You've got to collect data. And not just online world. Not just on the online world. Okay, so most profitable customer. I will just whip through these because at the end of the day, if you understand who your most profitable customer is, you want to learn everything about them. You want to know basically every single thing about them. Okay, you want to know what their problems and their solutions are. You want to make sure that you know how you can actually show them solutions to their problems. What are your present clients and what do they have in common? Can you find a niche like the Star Trek people? Because if you do, then you will be able to buy Tasmania very quickly. But never assume that you think like your target market. You've got to do more research and find out what they want and what they need. I'm whizzing through this because we've only got until 1 o'clock, isn't it, Roger? Okay. Now, who believes in the 80-20 rule? I think we all do, don't we? Okay, yeah, okay. Now, in the building society's instance, their target audience was working class. As I said, once you get a tie and a white collar, you tend to gravitate to the banks. That's the way it is. So we would make sure that we had working class people in all of our ads. And I used to really get a hard time from some of my fellow advertising people who would see my ads on TV and say, when are you going to feature ads on TV with people with teeth? And I would say they're not interested in their audience. Okay, so this is one of the great Building Society TV commercials, and you'll see it's very working class. Sorry, I put my speaker. So this is very audio-driven, this presentation, so unfortunately it's going to be a lot shorter than we thought it was. Okay, right here, Parramatta Lease Club, okay? They do not want Anglo-Saxons in that club because we, as Anglo-Saxons, we don't play the poker machines. We don't pay for that football team to run out in the field every day. And so therefore, what we do is that we gear up all of our advertising to be targeted at Asians and people, and basically Arabs. Now, Parramatta is very heavily Asian and Arab these days in terms of demographics. We actually use a thing called geodemographic profiling, I'll tell you about in a moment, where we locate where those people live. So you can go now into some software programs, and it's as laser targeted as Facebook ads on the online world. So you can say, look, I'm only after Asians who are earning $80,000 or more, and white collar and male, and they're over the age of 35 because we know that they play the poker machines. And then we put the details into the software program, and it lights up the street where they live. That's how targeted this is. Who does letterbox drops? Anybody do letterbox drops? Okay, gosh, only one out of all, only one does letterbox drops. Goodness me. Well, let me ask this, how many are B2B here versus B2C? Who's B2B? Okay, about half the room. And who is predominantly an online business? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay. And, okay, well, that's interesting. Letterbox drops are coming back into their own because email open rates, as we all know, are going through the floor. Okay, if you get a double-digit open rate on your emails these days, you're doing okay. So because the people who built databases bash the living daylights out of them by just emailing them every single day, it'd be like going next door and knocking on your neighbour's door and asking for a cup of sugar like every 5 minutes. They're not opening your emails now. And so therefore, you know, Australia Post are rubbing their hands together because the old direct mail, which they thought was dead, is coming back into its own, and so too is letterbox drops. But the beauty of letterbox drops is that now with this geodemographic profiling, you can actually pinpoint exactly where your target audience lives, because they'll say to you, you know what, if you're after a housewife, Mr. Woolworths, and you're after her 40 years plus, and she's got 2.4 children and she drives a Commodore, and more than likely her name is one of these 10 names, we'll light up the streets where they live. That's how targeted it is. Because what happens is that we tell them all this information every 4 years in the census, and the government says that that will be very confidential, and that's great. They resell that to software companies who resell it to them. So therefore you'll see there that's very Asian driven because we want them to come in and play the poker machines. We will give them all the best things we possibly can at the Chinese restaurant to make sure they come in so that they will play the poker machines. We have one person at Parramatta Leagues, which happens to be a client and is Asian. We know how much they put through the machine because they actually identify themselves with that little VIP card, $82,000 a week. A week to the poker machines. Okay? I don't think he has a legitimate job, but anyway. His name is What Went Wrong. Now, research. Okay, so therefore can I ask, and I bet you that we're going to surprise everyone here, and just when I ask to put up your hand if you're doing research, for those that don't put their hand up, just go, ooh, if you don't mind that. Who does research in their business here at the moment? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 10. Ooh. Because we all should be doing research, okay? There's two sorts of research, qualitative of course, well I'll do the top one. Quantitative, which means you go out and ask 500 or 600 or 1,000 people, that's statistically driven by a sample size which is a regular 500 to 1,000. And then there's qualitative research, which is this sort of stuff here, where you lock 8 or 10 people in a room and you ask them the touchy-feely stuff. You know, do you really like the label of my chocolate bar? Do you like the taste of this drink? And you get qualitative sort of responses from them. I'm a fan of the top one more so than the bottom one. Because if I was in this bottom one here, because I'm a seminar speaker, do you reckon I might take over and just skew the results? And you might say, well, we'll do 3 or 4 of them. Yeah, I agree. You should never have one survey of 8 or 10. You can do more and more. But I really am a fan of the quantitative research because at least you're asking 500 people. Now, and by the way, these days, everybody familiar with SurveyMonkey and things like that? So there's online surveys that are available to you free of charge, where you can actually go onto places like SurveyMonkey. You can basically swipe their whole system and send it out to your database, and then you'll have results within 48 hours. When people say to me, why did the Seinfeld TV campaign work so, I'll show you bits and pieces of that, as if I wasn't going to make a name drop like that. I had a call from Pro Francis this morning, what was that about? What we did is that when we actually had success with the commercials, people would say, well, how come they worked? I said, because we worked out that they worked beforehand. So when I shot Jerry Seinfeld commercials over in America, we did lots and lots and lots of them. And on one occasion, he said to us, let's do some kangaroo jokes and some koala bear jokes. And I said to him, no, that sort of went out with Don Lane, and he had no clue what I was talking about then. But I said, no, it's a bit like us doing red Indian jokes in America. It's just not the go now. Well, Jerry is Jerry, and he said, no, I think we ought to do a koala joke, because he's got a little toy koala on his arm. I think so too, let's go for it. Now, guess what? When we came back to Australia and we edited all the ads, we put that ad together with 2 others, and we would send them out through one of these survey systems, and we would get feedback from 1,000 people. And it was unanimous. No, we love Jerry Seinfeld, but we don't like him patronising us by making fun of koalas. So do you think that ad ever hit the TV screen? No. So the only ads that hit the TV screen were the ones that tested really, really well. So it was no surprise when they hit the TV screens that our call centre was pretty busy, because we tested them beforehand. Now you can do that with whatever product or service you've got. You can actually determine how successful that campaign is going to be within reason before you buy $50,000 doing it. Okay, number 2, create a wow. This is really, really probably the most exciting part of the entire presentation. So if you could possibly just even fake excitement, that would be good. This happens to be when I was going over to do the Seinfeld stuff. I was in New York quite a bit, and this happens to be a Dwyer shop that was being renovated at the time. Instead of just putting the hoarding up outside with that little hole in it, you can look what the men are doing behind it. Look at the trouble they went to. Now, do you think that there might have been some anticipation built around the opening of that shop? I think so. This is all wow factor, okay? This is not wow factor. This is what you don't want to do, okay? You do not want to do this, because when you do, you end up like jewellery shops. Anybody ever been to a jewellery shop lately where they haven't had a 50% off sale? Crazy. They've just completely screwed up the entire industry. This happens to be in a Westfield across the aisle. So that's Angus & Good here. Right across there is this mob. And guess what? They're doing exactly the same thing. 50% off, and within probably 10 yards, 10 foot, 10 metres, Angus & Good are doing the same thing. Madness, absolutely madness. This is how you do it. Now this is Woolworths, and it's the opening of mango season just before Christmas. Now that's wow factor. And you know what that is? It's bits of cardboard with photos of mangoes. But that's wow factor. Now the thing is that Gloria Jeans has the worst coffee in the world. But they've toned their business really, really cleverly. Browns and tans and lovely lounge suites. And in some of their stores, they've got their smell pumped out through the like reverse air conditioning. It's all about tonality, and it's all about wow factor. This here is high teas. Okay, this happens to be the Royal Pines Resort on the Gold Coast. And if you want to attract women to anything, I don't care what business you're in, if you want to attract women to anything, 2 words: high and tea. Okay? They'll sell their firstborn just to get to a high tea. They are crazier than a university student riot. So I've had some clients who are in the restaurant and cafe business, and I've said to them, put a high tea on and charge what they do, $29 for a couple of scones and a cup of tea. And they've increased their business within a month by 30-40%. Women will do anything for high tea. Men, the 2 words for them are beer and sex. I suggest you stay away from the second one, but you get some beer away. Okay. So I said to my wife, Gail, last night, I said, I think something to the effect of, I said, Gail, I think sex would be so much more enjoyable if only I had a partner. Oh, okay, so this is how you do it. This is a little shop up in Noosa, okay, Sunshine Coast, and you cannot walk past that shop without thinking, geez, I think I might go and get some hot scones. They've done it well, but you know what? That wow factor didn't take a ginormous sign that you would find in Las Vegas. They put it on a blackboard. But when we actually walked past that shop, I went in and look at it. You reckon that's wow factor? They've just done it right, haven't they? They've just done it right. Okay, they have really done a Gloria Jeans, but I think their scones and their tea actually tasted nice. And that's how they presented it when they brought this out to you. I think we only had to glance, so I couldn't stop what we do, but that's how they presented it. Everything about it was wow. This is is Parramatta Leagues Club, and that's a different way up. They're after 40 supporters, and so therefore they would not be going down the IT part. But when I was putting together their monthly magazine that went out to their 50,000 members, I would say to them, what do you got? They go, I've got a hamburger. I said, no. It's a hamburger. It's got to be the special hamburger. And I said, it's the biggest hamburger in the world. And all they had to do was put a couple of more layers of onion and a couple of tomatoes on there, and they did have the biggest hamburger in the world. Did I check the Guinness Book of Records? Maybe not. But that went nuts. $7.95 for the biggest hamburger in the world. Why? Because it's got that. I can give each one of you $250,000 for $4,000. Would anybody be interested in that? Oh, this is a tough audience. I'm glad you're videoing it, because I want to play this. I'll give anyone $250,000 for $4,000. Anybody interested? Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jay. I've got to get to work and all. Okay, they're called insured prize promotions. And the hole-in-one at the golf, you see whether you get a hole-in-one, you get $1 million. That's all insured. Deal or no deal, Channel 7 doesn't give any of that money away, it's all insured. Who wants to be a millionaire, it's all insured. Channel 9 doesn't give that away, okay? So these are insured promotions. So therefore, can you imagine, again, let's come back to the hairdresser. The hairdresser says, for every $50 you spend with me, I'll give you a ticket into a $250,000 draw. Do you think that that might have some influence on, ladies choosing to go to that hairdresser? Provided that she's got scissors. So the thing is that you can actually create artificial wow factors. If you don't have your own wow factor, like the Palazzo Versace or the Hilton Hotel, then you can create an artificial wow factor. We stopped at a hotel in Sydney recently, and I just had to take my hat off to them. Gail and myself checked in about 5:30 in the afternoon, and they said, "Oh, Mr. Dwyer, would you be actually staying in your room before you go to dinner?" I said, "Oh, probably for 20 minutes, half an hour." And he said, "Right, okay, we just got a special gift we'd like you send to dinner." I go, "I don't even know what the hotel costs. It could be $4 Brazilian a night. I'm getting my chocolate strawberries." So that is taking your eye off the price because of the wow factor. Think about how you can do it. This is Jayco Caravans, a client of mine. These are all clients of mine, obviously. I just didn't get the paper yesterday, a couple of that. Jayco Caravans, they sell the cheapest caravan $26,000. And they said to me, "Listen, we've got Viscount Caravans and all these other competitors at the moment. Can you give us some of that wow factor shit?" I said, "Oh, yeah, sure. I would have some just here." And so he's come on, this particular guy's come on to my personal coaching program. I have various levels of coaching programs. Some people I see once a month, other people I see more often, depending on how much they pay. And some people I don't see at all when they haven't paid. But in this instance, I said to him, "Okay, I'm going to fix your caravan business for you. You've got 5 acres on the main road, Pacific Highway in Newcastle." And I said to him, "Okay, we'll fix that. I'm going to give you a 5% off discount sale. Let's put a big sign outside, just like Las Vegas, and we'll say 5% off caravans this month. Do you reckon that's going to work?" And of course he looked at me, "Well, very similar to you people." He said, "No, it's not going to work." And I said, "Right, but I'll give you a wow factor that will only cost you the same as 5%. So 5% of 26 grand, the cheapest caravan, is $1,300, okay? So I said, "Right, well, this is what we'll do. We'll give away 50 cents a litre petrol every week for an entire year." Who would like to get that? Who'd like 50 cents a litre every week for 12 months? Pretty good, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so that's what we've done. There's a limit of 50 litres, because Woolworths only lose 34, by the way. I used to be the national marketing guy for Woolworths, so I have some spice in there.
How do you put the fuel in your caravan?
No, don't do that. This is for your motor vehicle, okay? You put the fuel in the caravan, of course, and light a match if you don't like lights. So therefore, when you buy a caravan from this guy, the cheapest caravan you're going to buy is 26 grand. He will give you a year's worth of petrol every week, 50 cents a litre. Now let's do the maths and you'll see how brilliant this is, okay? We give them 50 litres each week. We say 50 litres by 50 cents is $25. $25 multiplied by 52, guess what? $1,300. It's a 5% discount, but it sounds like $1 million, doesn't it? I think just to sort of not do calisthenics and stuff like that. Terry, you know, in the seminars where people are a little bit like they come back from lunch and they sort of get to jump up and do jet start. So we don't do that. I just think you should give me a round of applause that I did. Pascal, I've got it. Get away from the shyness. I've just got to get out of it.
I think so too.
Okay, so this is, I've now created a promotion called Fuel for Less. And we sell licenses for that, and anybody's interested, they can come and see you afterwards. But basically, it's mirrors. And I don't mean that in a bad way, it's just a very clever promotion. In the Greater Building Society's instance, when we gave away free holiday, we tripled their home loans within 18 months, okay? And then what we did, some years into it, I said, well, why don't we put a petrol discount on top of that? So what we did, we said, not only will you get a holiday, but for this month only, we'll give you 10 cents a litre of the petrol every week for a year. Now, 10 cents a litre multiplied by 50 litres a week is $5. Multiplied by 52 weeks is $260. It doubled their home loans in 10 days. Double. And it cost them $260. And it didn't even cost them $260. We only had a 71% redemption rate. So it cost them more like $200. They paid a broker $1,200. So I said to them at the moment, when I came up with these ideas, other ideas at the Building Society, I don't do them anymore. I gave that away a couple of years ago because I do seminars and stuff now. But I said to them, after the success of the petrol thing going nuts, I said, we have to build a statue. And they said, of what? I said, of me. For God's sake, this thing is like the 8th wonder of the world. But you think about it for any little business. If, again, a hairdresser. Okay, can you imagine if the hairdresser said, look, for every $50 you spend with me, I will give you 10 cents a litre of the petrol. So that means if a lady goes in and gets a $150 haircut, who's going to have a stab at what she gets? 10 cents a litre for every $50. If she spends $150, she gets 30 cents a litre. 30 cents a litre multiplied by 50 litres gives you $15. $15 is 10% of 150. All it is a 10% discount. That's quite brilliant, if I do say so myself. I've tested it across a whole bunch of industries. I'm just launching it this week. And I'm going to do current affair and Sunrise and all of that over the next few months because Woolworths now have their hands tied. So all the little people around Woolworths could never match them because Woolworths could go up to 10, 20, 30 cents a litre. Woolworths can only do 4 cents a litre now. The ACCC woke up to them. So I've got a butcher in Port Macquarie who's been a good guinea pig for me. He's been running the Fuel for Less program now for a year. He sits outside Woolworths, a 40-tonne gorilla. And what he does is he says 10 cents, and why go to Woolworths, you get 4 cents no matter what you spend. It is, no, look, Woolworths should be jailed for what they're doing. It's the only reward scheme in the entire world where your benefit is not proportionate to your spend. See, my wife works 3 still hungry teenagers at home, 16, 17 and 18. They eat like horses, and so when Gail, my wife, goes to the supermarket, she spends $4.8 million every week, and she gets a lousy 4 cents. But a uni student can go in there and spend $30 and they get 4 cents. What's the fairness in that? It's the biggest rip-off in retail history. And I'm glad that they called out. So now, the butcher outside this Woolworths store in Port Macquarie, he was doing $3 million turnover a year ago. He just, on the 12th month of the fuel program, turned over 4.1. So he paid me $10,000 throughout that time. His turnover went up 1.1 million. And he said to me, this is brilliant. I've got a $5,500, but what we do is we give them a little MasterCard, and it's got a Fuel for Less card, obviously, but it's a loyalty card that Flybuys. And when they come in, every time they buy their meat, he just zaps it into the software program we give him, and it identifies that that's Mrs. Smith. And he puts in $16 against her account, and she goes away, comes back in 2 days' time and spends another $42, and that goes into her account. At any time she wants, she can go out and get petrol from any petrol station in Australia, same as these people. They don't have to go to BP or Shell, they can go anywhere they want. She keeps a receipt, she comes back in, guess where? To the butcher shop, which is nice. And she says, here's my receipt, and here's my card. He zaps the card and says, you've got $102 on your account, so that means you've got 2 lots of 50, you can get 20 cents a litre. And she goes, well, great. So he has 20 cents a litre by 50 litres, your petrol receipt, here's $10. What do you think she does? She gives the $10 back to him and says, I'll buy some meat. He said he's never seen anything like that. So his turnover's gone up 1.1 million in 12 months and he gave me 10 grand. And guess what? It's not costing him 10%, it's only costing him 5 because they give the money back to him 9 times out of 10. So I'm just telling you how clever it is so that you can feel that round of applause was warranted. Okay, well factor. This is a client who just came on board in November. He was doing one of these song and dance shows and he comes up to me at the end of it and goes, mate, aside from your dad jokes, which were very bad, I think you might have a clue. I've got this thing called the Tall Ships business in Sydney, which is 2 Captain Cook boats that go out the harbour and try and bore old people to death. And I said to him, okay, so what do you do? So anyway, he came on. I have a 3-month personal coaching program. It's not cheap, it's 25 grand, but the fact is that these people make millions out of it. So he said, I want to buy into that. I don't want any of this group coaching. I have coaching where we have a boardroom club where a dozen businesses each month get together with me. And we help each other. It's basically a mastermind series, right? He said, no, I want that. I want you on my business. So I said, well, I happen to be in Sydney that day doing one of these. He said, well, can you come and see me tomorrow? I thought, God, you sound desperate. So I went and had a talk the next day, and we're around a table, you know, like one of your tables here. And he's got his wife, she's tapping away at the computer, and then he's a bit of an entrepreneur. And he's got a couple of other people, and he's marketing manager. And of course, the marketing manager wants to stab me through the heart or pour petrol over my head like that, because I'm going to talk really fast and say, that's shit, fix it, that's what we're going to do, right? My work is done, I'll be gone. I'll follow that between 5 minutes. The marketing manager now are great mates. He's a French guy, and I don't know what we means, but he says it all the time. And we're sitting there, and this guy says to me, listen, we're running at 55% occupancy with these 2 boats. We spent $1 million just renovating them, and they're tall ships. And I said, what do you do? He said, well, basically we go out and have champagne and Chardonnay on the harbour, and we stop off at Goat Island in the middle of the harbour where there's a little convict jail, and we show them the convict jail and this and the other. And he got that far, and I'm sitting at the table, and for sort of effect, I was about and he said, you're a rude bastard. I said, no, I'm just trying to give you some tough love, all right? I'm not Pat Mesiti, I will not hug you. So therefore, you are boring. I said, I won't even ask who your demographic is, because I reckon most of the people on these boats are in God's waiting room. And he said, well, they are. And I said, well, you've got to widen your demographic. You've got something here which is magic. And he said, well, smart ass, what is it? I said, have you seen Pirates of the Caribbean by any chance? Because they're 3 of the top 10 movies are Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean, of all time, right? So these ships here are going to become pirate ships, okay? And it's Attack of the Pirates on Sydney Harbour. And your Goat Island will turn into Skull Island. No one has ever escaped Skull Island. You know? And we've got fog machines around the wharf so that when the boat turns up, this thing looks like Johnny Depp's going to come out and knife him, okay? The old people will not go on this, trust me. So anyway, we changed it to that. That was his old website. This is his new website, Attack of the Pirates on Sydney Harbour. It launched on January the 11th. This was November, the last week of November. It launched on January the 11th. I went into the Sunday Telegraph, or showed him how to do it, and we said to the young girls, the marketing manager of the Sunday Telegraph, we want to give you $25.7 million worth of giveaways for a Sunday in January. And she said, who are you? I said, Mother Teresa. And she said, why are you doing this? I said, I want to help Rick Miller. Okay? Now, because he doesn't have enough money. Adults tickets for this are $79, children's tickets are $49. Okay, we're making Dad Kelly look like a gentleman. So the thing is that this goes out every hour from 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock. He said to me he's doing $10.4 million turnover. Within the first month of this, he said it will add $4 million to his turnover this year. Do you reckon that was the best 25 grand he's ever spent? So and he said to me, like at that meeting, he was so excited. David Warren, his name, it was so funny. His wife was sitting saying, where you are, and she's just tapping away at the laptop doing accountancy stuff. Because she's a nice lady, but sort of boring. And he, not that I'm making a comment about accountants, he's on this side of the table. As soon as I did the pirate thing, and I did the height minority survey, we're checking over your harbour, and I said the Opera House will be black, and the harbour bridge will have the skull bone over it. In advertising, we're not really going to paint that bridge. And he got so excited, he walked up to the whiteboard, and he just rips this like $200 shirt, this guy's not sure of it, he rips it open, and he goes, this is the best so-and-so idea I've ever come across. And his wife's still tapping away at the computer because she's doing the accounts. He walks up to her and goes, Alison, what the so-and-so are you doing? This idea could add millions to our turnover. And she looked at me, she goes, he was a middle child. He's just looking for attention, Jada. So when I went to the newspaper, you reckon I got their attention when I said, I'm going to give you $25 million worth of giveaway? And the girl said, how? I said, we're going to give you 516,049 tickets. Because the paper has got 516,000 sales. Multiplied by $49, that works out to be $25 million. Now, the paper giving that away, look at the Prime Minister can't get that. That's free, by the way. That's free on the front page of the damn paper. I used to do that with football cards. I'd go in and give them my Mel Meninga and Alfie Langer card, and I'll say, look, give that away for this week's paper. They'd say, what do you want? I say, nothing, I'm here to help you. And if they didn't find Elvis, I took up half the front page of the paper, get the free footy bubblegum cards for Sunday. They would spend $500,000 on TV telling you that you can get my cards on a Sunday. And we would be sold out by within a week. Whereas Scanlon's Bubblegum, because they were a confectionery company and didn't understand this welfare stuff, they would be still having cards sitting in the news agencies come September, grand final time. We took in the first year of taking over the rugby league cards from Scanlon Bubblegum, and the girls won't know what I'm talking about, all the guys here that grew up in Scanlon. We took it from 2 to 12 million turnover in 1 year, just by getting rid of Murdoch to sell all my cards for me. Because they know that newspapers don't sell, news doesn't sell newspapers anymore. We go on to 90% or wherever we go and look for news, we don't buy paper. So the only other 2 people that do this other than me are the Wiggles and Michael Bublé. And it's sitting there waiting for you to be doing it. I'm telling you, it's sitting there waiting. Now the thing is, We just gave away $516,000, $49 ticket for a child on this boat is like winning a shoe. It's useless, okay? Because there's no kid going to get on this boat without an adult. So all we're doing is lead gen. I thought that might have got just a little finger clap, but anyway. And so therefore I mocked up the radio ads, and I think I got one here. Let me, give me a second. Sorry, it was a bit fun. They're tiny little speakers, those things. Greater Building Society, what I want to teach you today is you've got to be the of whatever you're in. You've got to be the pharmacy, the bank, you've got to be the butcher, the architect, the dentist. You've got to be unlike anyone else. And if I said to you airlines, like those big things that fly up in the sky, who do you think the of that industry might be? A British guy? Sir Richard Branson, okay? Now, do you reckon his planes are any different from anyone else? They're the same planes, but he markets them different. I don't know how he gets away with it. He's got bikini girls painted on the front of his damn planes in this day and age of all the stuff that we go through. He gets away with it because he's appealing, just like Steve Irwin and Don Burke and the Master Chefs, okay? What he does is he actually promotes himself as the expert of his industry, and we gravitate to him. And that's what Steve Irwin did. So whatever you're in, promote yourself as the expert, only if you are, by the way. I'm not saying that you should sort of make stuff up and then grow into it. You wouldn't want your heart surgeon to be doing that. So, and so therefore, yeah, promote yourself as the expert. Now he doesn't. Now in this instance here, we made sure that they were the unbanked. They were the only bank in the world, as I said, never advertised a price for 9 years. We said get a home loan from us and get a free holiday. Now if you're dealing with working class people, then they're easier to take their eyes off the price than rich people, I grant you, okay? So therefore, I'm not saying for a moment you can't take the eye off the rich people, because if I said to a rich person, stay at the Versace on the Gold Coast instead of the Hilton, and we'll give you valet car parking, and we'll give you breakfast in bed, silver service with a butler, that'll get their attention, okay? But if I said to a rich person, get a home loan, get a free holiday, that's just give me a good interest rate. So it's horses for courses, but rail factor works for every demographic as long as you know the demographic. I'll play this to you. This is what sort of TV ads that came on.
We stayed at the Brits Wolfgate, and as I said, it was just wonderful. We opened the door and there it was right up the beach and right over the city lights, and you couldn't believe how it has been.
Get a home loan from the Greater Building Society and choose yourself a free holiday. No catches, no competitions. Call the breaker on 13
Now you notice that we're not drugs living, okay? We don't shout at people. And the reason I say that to you is that is a spectacular offer that was very casually put across. Okay, now I'm going to be a bit like that this morning because I've got to get a lot through in an hour. But generally speaking, I'm the one trying to tone the client now when I give them this sort of, no, you do not want to be drugs living, okay? 48-hour sale, we're going broke, we'll never be here again next weekend. We're going broke, we'll never be here again. Okay, now as a result of that free holiday offer, they doubled their home loans in the first year. They gave that a 3-month trial, and then it just, well, you reckon they're going to stop it after what happened in the first 3 months? They doubled the home loans in the first year, and they tripled them within 18 months. Now, at that time, I was not on any percentage with them, which was just madness. I had a consultancy fee with them. At the end of that time, which was 2 years ago, they were paying me $35 a month, so $400,000 a year. That was a pretty good point to have. But Seinfeld would ring up on the Monday and say, we'd like to have a, not him, but his girl would ring up and say, we'd like JD to come across and have a meeting on Thursday. And he didn't realise that I did not have a lead yet. And the reason I wanted to get out of that corporate world was that I had prorated leagues, and I had big shopping centre groups, and I had the Greater Building Society. They pay you a lot of money, but when they're paying 100 or 150 or 400 in the greatest instance every year, they think they own you, fair enough. And you'll get calls at midnight to dawn. So I said to Gail and my wife, look, I think I'll get out, and I think we can make more money packaging this wizardry into a system for small businesses. And that's what we do now. I've packaged all of this up into a system, into a formula for smaller businesses. That doesn't mean to say it doesn't work for big businesses. It's just that I felt that there was a lot of money to be made out of small fish. And there is, because people who have relatively small businesses doing somewhere between $250,000 and maybe $10 million, they don't have access to this. And if they go to an ad agency, they're going to be say I'm here to help you. And they're still using proactive. So I always say, if you need heart surgery, do you reckon you can get a 25-year-old to do it or someone my age? And if you need heart surgery for your business, the same thing applies. And that's not bagging out Channel 1, we've got 6 of them for God's sake. It's just that it's common sense. If you want experience, then you pay for it. So in this instance, what we did is that we then decided to put this thing on steroids, and a few years ago we got Jerry Seinfeld involved. I won't bore you with all the details of that, but he took a lot of chasing. And this was the sort of ads that we had with Jerry.
I'd like to talk to you about a home loan. Not for me, for you. I have a home loan. Get away from home loan from the Brita. It could be the most fun financial decision you'll ever make. Just ask a Brita customer.
When we shopped around for a home loan, we found the Brita had one of the lowest interest rates.
And a free holiday. We had over 200 choices, and there were no catches.
Get a getaway's home loan and go on a free holiday. Or loan us some money and we'll go on a holiday. Either way, someone's getting out of here.
Okay, so when you're dealing with big superstars like that, and I've had a few of them, you let them have their way. So I wrote all the ads, Jerry threw them out, and then he wrote his, and I said, oh, I love it, I just love it. Seinfeld's results were that in the first 2 years, the Great had tripled its home loan market share. It went nuts. They became a household name in places that no one had ever heard of them before. It was on the Today Show, it was on the Sunrise, it was on Current Affairs, you name it. They got $2.6 million worth of publicity in the first 48 hours. It was big news because Seinfeld was coming back to TV. Okay, let me say this to you. Business cards, business vehicles. Who's got a business vehicle? A few people? The thing that really freaks me out with business vehicles is a lot of people treat them like a business card. And so therefore they just put their name, Fred Noakes Plumbing, phone number 4061 www Fred Noakes Plumbing. And you go, wow, well, if I stopped and set a traffic lights, I'd have to desperately renew it. Don't let that happen, okay? This is the sort of stuff you should be doing with your car. It doesn't matter whether you marketing Pepsi, just put Pepsi or okay? You reckon you might like to go to that, sir? They know what it's all about. Treat your vehicle as a roving billboard. Not like that. This guy's a moron. I hope he's not in the room. He's a moron. I don't even know what short code is, for God's sake. That is just lazy, okay? That is ridiculous. That's crazy. There's no wow factor to that. God knows how she does that, but there's no wow factor. That is on the Gold Coast. They are great. Can you imagine stopping behind that bus on the Gold Coast, as I did and took a photo, imagine the bus driver looking in the rear vision mirror going, the Oasis Shopping Centre, relax, but don't sit out at the great shopping. I just had to race to that shopping centre, that was compelling. Why are these people wasting all that money? Why are they doing that? These are the same people that would sponsor the Titans, or the Broncos, or St George, what have you. They are what I call morons. Okay? The Newcastle Knights came to me when I was doing the greater stuff and said, do you want to give us $300,000 for the Greater Building Society's logo on the shorts? And I said, no. And they said, why not? I said, because we waste money. And they said, well, how do you know that? I said, well, you give me some statistical evidence that the last sponsor that paid $300,000 for the shorts made money out of it. And you can hear crickets in the background, of course. You know. I said, I'll give you $600,000. Well, that got them, didn't it? And they went, well, that's good. And I said, good, I'll give you $600,000 on my condition. Well, two conditions. Number one, you proved to me that there's value in it, so you've got some statistical evidence that anyone makes any money out of this ridiculous sponsorship. And number two, you actually give me the name and the contact details of all the 17,500 people that come to a Knights game every fortnight. Crickets in the background. See, rugby league, the big rugby league is run by former rugby league players. So am I. So, I know because I had the rugby league football card licence, and when I had it, it was back in the 90s, and when we get the players to distinguish between the cards, I had to tell Terry Lamb there was a B in the surname. So, you think I'm joking? Okay. This here is a turf farm, okay? Now, look at the opportunity gone wrong. That happened to be parked somewhere on the Gold Coast. I took a photo. It should be like this. That's how it should be. Can you imagine if that pulled up a set of traffic lights compared to that pulling up a set of traffic lights? Okay, now the expert thing, I'll just back to it very quickly. You've got to be the Steve Irwin of your industry. Now, we all gravitate to experts. So therefore, if you are pretty good at what you do, and I believe I am, so therefore I market myself as Australia's leading marketing expert, right? And I think I am. And I would probably put my house on anyone who wants to come up and stand next to me and see who's going to win. So therefore, I'm not lying. I've got a case history that goes back to 1842. I was on one of those boats that all shit shop. I stole one loaf of bread, for God's sake. Okay, so these guys here, real estate game, that freaks me out. The real estate game absolutely freaks me out. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I've never seen a real estate agent sell a home that anyone would live in. Okay, have a look at realestate.com or have a look at that in the windows. They're selling ghost houses. The first rule of advertising is to put your target audience in the ad. So if you're selling to an over 40 housewife and you want to sell her XYZ, you better put her in the damn ad, right? Notice Jerry Seinfeld wasn't the only person in my ad, but we had people who looked like working class people talking with him. So therefore, the thing with real estate agents, they sell empty kitchens, empty bedrooms, empty front yards, empty backyard. No one has ever lived in that house. Crazy stuff, okay? So this happens to be a client up in Digby. He was finding that people were ringing up asking for the commission rate and just basically wasting their time. They weren't getting the listing. So what we did is we put together a CD program, which was the 3 biggest mistakes people make when they're actually selling their home. And when someone rang up just inquiring about possibly listing their house, the first thing we'd say to them, look, just give us your address, we'd like to send you around a gift. And they say, okay, well, within an hour, that with a box of Tim Tams would arrive on their doorstep with a letter saying, look, we know you can choose any real estate, but guess what, we're the #1 real estate agent in Gympie. And if you have a look at this CD, which only goes for 8 minutes, it's an interview with the husband and wife that I produced, and it tells them why they should choose us. It says, we go the extra mile. We have a database of 3,500 people looking for homes. We actually understand how to market homes. We actually will say that your home is close to the school. It's 5 minutes away from the shops, even if it's not. So the whole idea is that, can you imagine on your website, if I had a kitchen renovators website, the first thing I'd have above the fold is the free report, or free video, free download on the 3 biggest mistakes that people make when they're actually renovating their kitchen. And one of those mistakes would be they get conned into thinking it's a granite benchtop and it really isn't. The other one would be that the builder actually says it's going to be out in 2 weeks and we all know that it takes blah, 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 blah. Do you think if I was getting a kitchen renovated, then I might look at that free report and go, geez, he knows what he's doing, I think I might go with that guy. If he's bold enough to give me the 3 biggest mistakes that most people make, I think I can trust him. You all look like the rabbits, the headlights in the front of the cars. Okay. That's why you got those. Okay. Events. This is an event. Now I hold these reasonably regularly myself. Because what it is they're selling once to numbers. So I would suggest that no matter what game you're in, you hold an event. I had a client on the Gold Coast called AdFence. And AdFence makes the cloth signage that goes around the fencing and construction sites. And he couldn't get through the Metricon or Marston Homes or Stockton. He couldn't get through any of the decision makers where he wanted to sell his signage that runs around the fences and construction sites. I said, you hold an event. He said, what? I said, why don't you invite all these people who won't take your call to come to the Versace for dinner? And I'll be your guest speaker. He's one of my high-end clients, so I was happy to do that for free. And so that's what he did. He said, let's have dinner with the Seinfeld guy. And he invited all the builders to come to dinner. He had 17 out of a possible 35. His secretary didn't do a great job, to be honest, but 17 builders come with their wives. It's a male-dominated industry. And it cost him $100 a head to have dinner at the Versace in one of these beautiful rooms. Okay? 100 multiplied by 34 people is $3,400. I got up and did my song and dance like this, insulted the audience, did all the same thing. And then I invited him up. So let's just say he was where Pascal was. Oh, who would like Tron to come up on stage? Quarter to 9, they're all half pissed. They wouldn't take his call the day before. They go, yeah, get up there, Tron, get up there. The actual invitation said that he was just sponsoring this event to build his brand. That's crap. He was sponsoring this event to bring bees to his honey pot. That's all he was doing. Okay? But on the letter that went out to him, of course, in the emails, it said, look, we just want to build our brand in the Gold Coast, and so therefore we thought we'd hold this evening, and we've got a guest speaker who's sort of mildly entertaining. And so therefore I brought him up. I said, I'll try and sort of talk to you, mate. Look, what makes you different from anyone else? He said, well, I actually produced the signage in-house with a big machine. All of a sudden I clicked the button on the big screen and come up with a big machine. And it's the size of a garage, this damn thing, you know. And I said, well, what's the unique selling point of view? He said, look, the point is that because other people in my game actually get it printed elsewhere and sometimes get it screen printed elsewhere, it's margin on margin on margin. So therefore the poor client's paying through the nose. And I said, okay, well, what would they be paying? He said, well, no, this was all scripted. He said, well, a client just rang up the other day and got a quote in Darwin, and he was a builder, and it was $34,000. He said, we did it for $14,200. Now these builders who would not take his name only a week earlier rushed to the stage if he was Justin Bieber. Okay? And I left at that point and went home. The whole night cost him $3,400. $100 multiplied by 17 couples, $3,400. He rang me the next day and he said, mate, I owe you a beer. I said, why is that? He said, we just took $272,000 in sales last night. And he said the significance of that was in 3 hours I took pretty much 15% of last year's turnover in 3 hours. Now that's message to market match. That's what's called message to market match. That's bringing your bees to your honeypot. Who here holds events? Good. And so you concur with this, wouldn't you? Okay? But what game are you in?
Publishing.
Publishing, okay. And what do you, are your events like breakfast or dinners or?
We held a Meet the Candidates event last night, got about 250 people along.
Budget.
And we've got national television coverage.
Really?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, there you go. So that's what you've got to do, hold events. Hold events, okay? Okay, I'll just sit through these. These are a few clients that just told me. This one held a furniture expo. So I'll just play the act, that's everything I'll do.
Now here's some great news if you're planning any type of home renovation in the near future. There's a flooring expo tomorrow and Saturday in Port Macquarie at Verde Bamboo's showroom. And on the phone I've got Emily Atchison.
Hi Mark. Well, with so many do-it-yourself renovators these days, we thought it would be terrific to have an expo to show people what flooring choices and how they can save big dollars doing it themselves.
Well, that's great because let's face it, the floor can make or break the ambience of a home, can't it?
Yep, a stunning floor can transform a home from bland to grand very quickly.
So there'll be floors on display for both inside and out.
Absolutely. Verde.
Now that was a 90-second ad. And anyone's doing radio. Anybody do radio here, by the way? Anybody do radio? Okay, good. If you're doing radio, it didn't make it sound like a radio ad. That's a 90-second interview, but it was an ad. Okay, so they play that regularly throughout the day, and because the voiceover man sounds very much like the DJ, it sounds like he's just picked up the phone and rang this lady about this furniture expo. So it's what we call long-form commercials. It's basically a mini version of the Kerry-Ann advertorials you see on TV, but it's disguised as editorial content. So you don't want your ads to sound like ads if you can get over. Okay, problem solution corner. I'll whiz through this quickly because we've only got 10 minutes left. 5 ingredients to this. This is emotional direct response advertising. You employ this stuff into your advertising, you just watch what happens. Number 1, identify your prospect's problem. Number 2, exaggerate the problem. Number 3, provide the solution. Number 4, provide proof, and then a strong call to action. So let's look at that Greater Building Society. Number 1, are you with a bank and they're beating you up with fees and they don't treat you like a person, they actually treat you like a number? Number 2, exaggerate the problem. You know what? Banks are run by shareholders, okay, as opposed to a building society, which is a merger. They're run by shareholders and they're going to want to rip you off until you die. Number 3, provide the solution. Swap to the Greater Building Society and guess what? We'll not only give you better service and we'll give the little children a toy when they come into the brand, we'll give you a free holiday to Fiji. Number 4, provide proof. You've got Betty Bankstown and her husband on TV, you saw it there with Jerry Seinfeld. We swapped to the Greater, we got better service and we got a free holiday. And number 5, a strong call to action, ring 13 1386. You implement that into your advertising no matter what you are. You can be the Versace and I guarantee you within 6 months you'll double your business. The reason why is because no one does it. The only people that do this is Panadol. You've got a headache, we'll fix it in 15 minutes. In the old days, Panadol used to show you the box. They don't do that anymore. They show the housewife coming home with the kids after school, they're running right in the kitchen, she's got a headache, and all of a sudden she takes a tablet, you see it go down into her tummy and bounce back up into her head, because that's the way they're graphically presented these days. Headache gone in 15 minutes. It's problem solution. And you cannot get the most value out of your advertising if you don't have a problem solution. There you go. Well, there you go. I'll zip through that. This lady here is a menopause expert, okay? And she's actually into natural therapy rather than pharmaceutical drugs. And so therefore, problem solution, suffering from mood swings, hot flushes and sweats, or last is relief. This is the leaflet she put together beforehand. She came to one of my seminars and she decided to do it herself. She quickly came back to me, okay? She says, okay, everything right now, suffering from mood swings and at last is menopause from Australia's #1 expert, so she's doing the Steve Irwin thing. Here she gives you all the free reports. She's listened to me right down to a T. She's got it right. But what do you think she's done wrong? She looks like Philo. Because the execution of that is woeful. Okay, so therefore, I said to her, do you want to make more money? I don't like your sort of business because you work 8 hours a day and I've got a cap. I can't take you through the stratosphere. And I said, the only thing I can do is get your prices up because I can easily fill your 8 hours. She's doing 5 hours a day. I said, I can fix that in a month, no problem. But you only get 3 hours more of what you're paying. Charging. She's charging $75 for a 17-minute consultation. I said, well, we'll fix that. we'll make you more money, we'll double your business, but I can't double it just by filling those hours because you're still only going to get $75. We'll double it to $150. You'll charge $150 per consultation. She said, what? No way. I said, yes, because we will take that and make it look like this. Now you look like an expert, okay? Now you look like the Steve Irwin of that industry. We put out a letterbox job with that instead of the crap that she had before. She was booked out solid for 3 months. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the testimonial, but she looks down the barrel of the camera and she says, in just 3 months, I doubled my business. She's now so excited, she's taking this online. So fixmymenopause.com, we're setting it up for her at the moment, so anyone from New York can actually access the services. So the thing with my stuff, I've had to actually create this model for myself too, because if you're in a marketing coaching position, unless you've got people paying $1 gazillion an hour, my income's capped. So therefore what I've done is exactly this. I've created a system that people can buy into for a very reasonable price, and I can spread that anywhere in the world. And I'm saying the same thing to her. If she's got a natural remedy to menopause, we'll take it around worldwide. So before and after. Do you reckon the one on the right you might pay more money for? I think so. Okay. So it's fine to take this on board, but you've got to have the tonality as well. You've got to make sure that if you are David Jones, you don't look like Viola. Okay, the second last one, be different online. Create a website that sells. Most websites, as I said, are woeful. The magazine industry knows the importance of that front page. I used to consult to ACB, which is Gary Packer, and when the royal family, of course, weren't doing much, they didn't sell many magazines. Okay, so the thing is that they understand the front cover can make or break a magazine. Who would agree with that? Everybody agree? Good. Okay, well, why then, if we all agree that that is what sells magazines, do we have such woeful websites? And I think it's simply because we don't realise that you've got to put all of your good stuff before the fold. So the fold on your computer screen, of course, is the base of the computer screen. And I'm telling you, because I've looked at the websites, that, you know, for the most part, you've got good stuff on there that's below the fold. And guess what? If your bounce rate is high, and yes it is for a lot of the websites I looked at, that means that people coming on and bouncing off again because they're not interested in what they see. They'll never get to the good stuff. If you've got the good stuff on page 2 or 3 of your website and you've got a shithouse homepage, they will never get to that. So, that's the sort of design that I suggest, where up the top you've got the ID, just like Women's Day would. You've got the problem solution headline and maybe a welcome video, and that welcome video isn't hi, my name's Beryl, I've been in this game for 47 years. You don't want that. Your open video would be, hi, I know you've got a headache, I've got the solution. Okay, you come to the right place. Then you'll have product and service benefits, you have a free report. Anyone want to take a stab at why we give them a free report? It's not just to position yourself as an expert, but it's to collect data. Okay, so you can know them until they buy data. McDonald's menu, I'm really a big fan of McDonald's menu, so therefore if you have a series of products, pick out the 4 or 5 that are the most profitable and whack them up. Then you would have proof of case studies, and then you'd have a call to action. Now your homepage would finish about there, okay? I'm not saying you're going to fit all of that in the homepage. Let me just whiz through, these are just quick layouts I do for clients. This is how Silly Movie brought up. Do you think that it would make sense to have a video on the homepage there, a little comic 12-year-old getting on the Superman ride going, 100 miles an hour, we went from 0 to 100 in the wind, and that was the best roller coaster. Nothing. There are more. That's crazy. This is movie world, for goodness sake, you know. And you see a free report on there, like something like a Batman activity book you can download, so that you capture the little boy's name and address in Sydney. No. Crazy, crazy stuff. That's Luna Park in Sydney. Okay, the designer that was putting that together got lazy halfway down. They just thought, they're not paying the bills on time, so I'm not paying them. Arnott's, the most popular biscuit in Australia, happens to be Tim Tams. Can anyone see the Tim Tam on the front of the website? It's crazy. We are changing websites at the moment with this formula they have, and we're seeing 300% increases in conversion like within a month, right? Because you don't want to get your website designed by a website designer. And if there's one in the room or 2 in the room, I apologise, but most website designers come from either artistic background or they're geeks. Okay, so I use a lot of graphic artists, but I would never let them market my business because they don't know what to put where. They make it look pretty, but whether it's got any direct response mechanisms to it, of course, is another thing. And so you want your website designed by a marketing person that knows how to get direct response. He will then use a geek, an artist, or she will, but the point is that you don't want your website designed by a website designer. Let me zip through these: problems, solution, free report, experts, proof, testimonials, first fold. If you're not comfortable in front of the camera, I'm not going to play the whole lot of this because we're running short on time. Use a doodle video. You can get these done very, very cost effectively, and this is what they look like.
Hi, John and I here, well, at least the cartoon.
to show Dwyer. Look, I just thought it would be a good idea to let you know what you will learn at my WOW marketing event. Firstly, let me highlight that it will be unlike any other seminar you've ever been to. I guarantee that. You see, I can...
Okay, so therefore you get the feeling. Now, those things, if you're camera shy, you don't think you're a good presenter, they are brilliant for capturing attention. If I let that play and we had more time, I guarantee you wouldn't take your eyes off, not because I'm on the damn thing, it's just that the cleverness of the actual drawing keeps you compelled. Okay? Before we got involved with this guy's website, that's what it looked like. That's what we did to it, before and after. Do you reckon you might like to buy something with the one on the right compared to the one on the left? Okay. This one here is before, it happens to be a self-managed super fund. Pretty boring. We got to it and added some pixie dust, and that's what it looks like, before and after. Like Crust Bakery, this is what the website looked like. Not too bad, is it? I mean, it's not the worst I've ever seen, but it just didn't have the bells and whistles that it needed. So I tend to sort of draw pretty fast, and so I showed this lady how it should be put together. It was a French bakery, and it just didn't look French. They didn't have compelling photographs, they didn't have any video, they didn't really have any of the compelling direct response techniques that you need when you're going to have one of these websites. So I said to her, okay, well what we'll do is we'll make it French. So we featured a French pastry chef, which she had, but she'd never taken any photos of him. Okay, and we put together the website like that. I'll just cut it short so you don't have to look at the whole thing. That's the before and after. Which one do you think you might want to make better? Okay. Can you see the theatre, the wow factor involved in this sort of stuff? It can be done instantly. Video testimonials, the point is that you need those on your website because they will sell more than what you could ever sell if you got on there yourself. Let me sit through that. Okay, last but not least, competitive trade. Okay, and that is keep them coming back for more. You don't want to make one sale because they're not a client, they're just someone who walked into your business, okay? You want to actually get them to come back and back and back. McDonald's do it with the Happy Meal toys. If you knew the annual value of a client was $5,000, can I ask what would you be prepared to spend? Would anybody be prepared to spend 10% of that to get that client? I think you would, wouldn't you? Right? So therefore, my petrol thing, for example, would be a killer. If you're a restaurant and the annual value of a good customer is $5,000, would you be prepared to give $500 in bonuses with gifts? I think I would. And so therefore, I cannot understand why people don't do it. I fly Qantas, but I hate the airline. And the reason I do is because they've got me into this damn frequent flyer thing. I've got to fly Qantas because I've got 4 gazillion points. The thing is that if you get people into a loyalty program, even if they don't like it, they'll hang around. Flybuys is probably the best example. Do you know at Flybuys, to actually get anything, if you get a $50 shopping voucher, you have to spend $15,000 or $11,000. Okay? But they get you in on that loyalty program. So despite a relatively low level of reward, they get you in. Now the coffee shops know. No one else does it, but the coffee shops, every now and again, not every coffee shop, they have the little cards where they click the thing to get a coffee, and of course if you get mine, you get the £10 for it. Virgin, I'm a Velocity Gold member because I fly around the country so often, and Gail was booking my airfares recently, or 6 months ago, and I couldn't get on Virgin to go to some of the places I need to go to, and so she booked me Jetstar all the time, or Shitstar. And so the thing is that I got dropped from gold to silver. Now that was like cutting my right arm off. I said to Gail, I'm silver. Do I look silver? I'm a gold person, I can't be silver. So I just made sure that she put me back on Virgin. I went for airplane trips, wasn't needed to go anywhere, just to get back up to gold. So even me, who should be immune to this sort of stuff, because I make it up. It affects me. McDonald's, I said to you before, collecting toys, $1 million prize, I've shown that one before, $1 million will cost you $50.